Hi everybody, this is Erica. I have decided to start my channel back up, and it's been almost 2 years really since I've done a real video, and I thought maybe it was time to get on here and let everybody know what's been happening and why we've been gone for so long. Obviously, if you're close friends or family, you already know this, and excuse me if this is really disjointed and uncomfortable because it's really weird for me to get on here and talk about it. But for you subscribers who don't know me in real life, we've had quite a roller coaster couple years. Not this last spring, but the spring before, right after we moved to Virginia, I found out I was pregnant, which was a really big shock because we didn't think we could have any more kids. We had our twins through fertility treatments. So when we found out we were pregnant, it was a huge shock. Shortly after I found out, I was told that the pregnancy wasn't viable and I miscarried that baby. About a month or two later, lo and behold, I was pregnant again. This time we didn't want to tell anybody until the 12-week point. So we waited until about 10 weeks. We had our first ultrasound and we went in and we saw the heartbeat. The baby was moving around, looked great. So we decided to go ahead and tell everybody at about 10 weeks. So everything looked great. We made it to about 23 weeks when I went to get my ultrasound, the anatomy scan. We went to that, we went to the local hospital there on base, and we had decided not to find out the gender. We were gonna wait like we did with the twins, and this is still hard to go out and say out loud the whole story, but as they were doing the scan, you know, they were looking over everything and they were pretty quiet. They asked if we wanted to know the gender, and the last second we were like, oh, okay, go ahead and tell us. And they're like, it's a boy, and we were really excited about that. And then the ultrasound tech got really quiet and was kind of going over things a few times, and she told me to get up and walk around a little bit so she could come back and do some more scanning because she wasn't seeing everything she needed to see. So I wasn't worried at all at this point. Got up and walked around. We were talking about, oh wow, it's another boy. I was like, yeah, I wasn't surprised. I kind of had felt it was a boy the whole time. But anyway, another ultrasound tech came in and had me lay back down and was going over looking at the baby again when a doctor walked in. And the second that doctor walked in, my heart dropped. Looked over at Scott and we just knew something was wrong. So he came in and he proceeded to tell us that our baby had CDH, which is congenital diaphragmatic hernia. His diaphragm had not formed completely, and his heart, and his stomach and his intestines and everything were up into his chest, which was pushing his heart over and his lungs and keeping his lungs from developing properly. They sent us on to the next day to a bigger hospital in Portsmouth, Virginia, and had us get another ultrasound where the CDH was confirmed. And oh my goodness, this is such a long story. They confirmed the CDH. They scheduled a heart check for him to make sure his heart was doing all right. His lungs were borderline. They weren't developing properly at all. They were all squished up. So they did that. They asked us if we would like to get an amnio to see if there was anything else wrong that could be contributing to why he had the CDH, and I agreed to go ahead and do that because I figured if there was something, if we had extra information that we knew that could help him when he was born, I wanted to know that. So we got the amnio done, we got the heart test done. His heart looked fine, his heart was strong. It took a few weeks for the initial amnio results to come back. The first few things that came back were normal. He looked fine. And then on New Year's Eve of last year, we got a call. As we were driving in the car, we got a call, and we were told that our baby had pallister-killian syndrome that had probably caused the CDH, and that he would not survive he was incompatible with life pretty much. If you're not familiar with pallister-killian syndrome, which most people aren't, we were told that there were about 300 diagnosed cases in the world of pallister-killian syndrome. Pretty much the babies that are born and survive, they have lifelong disabilities. Many of them don't walk or speak or anything like that. There are some that do, but for the most part, they have severe, severe disabilities. But we were told with the combination of the CDH, there was no way he would survive. And that was huge. That was a shock. I can't even explain how awful that was. There aren't even words to this day. But we went back in and saw a doctor, a geneticist, and we had to go over our family history and all that stuff. And we were told our options were to terminate the pregnancy, or we could go ahead and carry him to term and see if he made it to pregnancy, maybe shortly after. We really didn't know. We knew that the odds of him surviving completely were pretty much none. Of course, I wanted nothing to do with termination. It was never a thought in our minds. So I carried him to term, knowing that he probably wouldn't survive, and that we were just hopeful he would make it to birth so that we could have a live birth and meet him. In March of this year, when I was at 36 weeks, and almost 36 weeks, not quite, I went ahead and was induced because he looked like he was doing okay, and we were afraid if we waited, he would pass away before we could meet him. We were afraid things would continue to deteriorate because I had so much fluid, and just I personally wasn't doing really great, and he was looking great, and we just thought it was a good time. But I went ahead and I was induced. Labor didn't quite go as planned. He got stuck, so I had a C-section, and baby Kevin was born at noon on March 23rd, 2016, and he was with us for 40 minutes. I had some complications during surgery, so I initially got to hold him and to spend a little bit of time with him, and then Scott took him out where he had a bath, and he got to meet the rest of the family, and he passed away while I was still in surgery. So I didn't get the last few minutes with him, which I think will always, always bother me, but I am more than grateful and completely blessed that I got to meet him. And I mean, those are moments I'll never forget. They are some of the happiest moments of my life, because all during my pregnancy, all of my hopes were just to meet him, just to get to spend a little bit of time with him, even if it was just a minute. I mean, that meant more than anything to me. But so that's where we've been. When I found out what was going on, or after my miscarriage, I kind of had a hard time recording things. I just wasn't feeling into it. And then when the stuff happened with Kevin, looking back, I wished I had recorded it, but I couldn't do it. Making it through daily life was all I could do, just to getting out of bed in the morning. There's no way I could have recorded things. I wish I had all those memories. But if you look back on my videos, I have a memorial slideshow for Kevin that I've done. There's some ultrasounds on there. It shows when we announced our pregnancy to the kids for Kevin. All those videos are back there if you like to go back and watch them. But yeah, that's where we've been for the last year. Kevin passed away in March, and it's now the middle of October, so we've had a little bit of time to digest it, if you ever can, really. He was cremated because we were far from home, so we had his service in June, and we had his ashes buried, most of his ashes buried back home in my family's plot near my grandma. And Scott and I each have, and the grandparents, and I have one for each of the kids when they get older. We all have a little necklace that has some of his ashes in it, so he's with us wherever we go. But yeah, that's our story. I don't want to go too into detail on here because it's long, and I know it's depressing and sad. So if anybody has any questions they'd like me to answer, go into more detail on anything, just ask. I'd be happy to, but yeah, that's where we are now. So from here on out, my videos won't just be me sitting here talking. There'll be a lot of the family and stuff, but I felt like to any subscribers I had that didn't know me in real life, I felt like I kind of owed a little update of where we've been. So this is where we are, and I hope to start getting up more video of my family and follow the journey onward. Thanks for watching.